player in LA.
Yes, yes.
I could say that. He is an educator. He is an activist. He is an awesome team player, and he's trying, just like us, to change the world through his art. So, give it up.
Man, thank you. I'll take that team play. And that, and kind of in the spirit of that, because there's, you know, and first of all, do it for music, brother. Hey, man, that's exactly where my head is at. And I'm a middle school music teacher in Compton, and I'm kind of going to speak more from the side of being a middle school music teacher in Compton, and I kind of want to speak to some of the questions that were asked and some of the things we were discussing, as opposed to myself as a trumpet player. Although music, I live for music also. In fact, so much so that before I became an actual teacher, I thought I never want to teach music because I thought that would make me hate music. But while I was, you know, playing my music jobs and that type of thing, I started working in foster care at a foster agency, and I worked with kids kind of within the agency, placing them. I was kind of like conduit between the homes and the kids, and I worked a lot more with the kids. And then a friend of mine who I was playing music jobs with all over LA asked me about, you know, if I would consider taking interviewing to be a music teacher in Compton, because at the time they had no middle school music programs in Compton. They had high school music, but no middle school. And they were looking to expand and learn middle school teachers. And I went and interviewed. And I said, you know, I kind of love music, and I have my own way of teaching music. I really respect my brother here saying this, you know, that you have that love and you want to give it, and there's ways of teaching. And I felt that myself. So I figured they would say, no, man, we don't want you. But because they had no clear understanding of what they really wanted, I got the job. So, and that was a little over 15 years ago. I've been teaching a little over 15 years. I love teaching music. I love my students. It is a very, very difficult job. I first say that I love my job, and I second say that it's a very, very difficult job. And I really want to pay respect to the earlier people that really broke down things around homelessness statistically, and a lot of the things that you all are doing politically, and as activists out there fighting legal struggles for homeless. Hugely important. My kind of discussion here is going to kind of deal with just a personal perspective for kids. I teach middle school, which and a lot of people think that's the most difficult thing in the world to do already. You know, you're 11, 12 years old, you know everything, nobody else knows anything, and the teacher definitely knows nothing. Place on top of that all the stress and everything of a household. There's no house. I just 2 weeks ago, we're at the time in my beginning band classes where I've done all my little preliminary stuff. We understand what the instruments are and everything. We're about to get started on instruments, and I give everyone a responsibility form to take home to their parents to get signed and say, you know, I'm going to instrument, because every kid gets their own instrument assigned to them. And one particular young guy, 6th grader, so he's like 11 years old. He's been my most difficult student all year. He's not only is he all over the place, and he just no. He's just outrageous with language and everything else. He doesn't. In fact, he's so kind of outrageous that he doesn't even want to allow everybody else to get their work done and take tests. I was given a test, and he, was yelling to the class, how are you going to do this? He's just outlandish. Now, after teaching for 15 years, I know if all I do is try and suppress this young guy, I'm going to fail. It's going to happen. So, a week or two in the class, I go to the after-school program, which, by my surprise, not at all. I'm not at all surprised that he's in the after-school program. He's there, probably the last kid to leave every day. I say, hey man, what's happening, man? You seem like you're having a tough time in my class, and what is it that I can do to help you in my class? Now, he's taken off guard by that because usually everybody just yells at him. But there's always a reason. And I didn't even get to the reason through that discussion with him, but we came to an agreement after school that day that he was going to come in and he was going to, and I was going to change his seat. He said, I don't like where I'm sitting, and there's this, and I don't like this. I said, well, all right, we'll change your seat. You let me know where you want to sit. I'm going to sit you there. So we changed his seat, whatever. And that wasn't the end of it at all. But I only say this to say that he was a very, very difficult kid. When I get to passing out these responsibility forms, he says, hey, Mr. Holloway, can I just talk to you after class? I said, yeah, absolutely. So after class, he makes sure everybody leaves and he waits. All of y'all got to get out of here. No, get out! He's just very insistent about what he needs. And he says, hey man, I can't do the address and telephone number. We don't have an address and a telephone number. But I want to, I just need to tell you I can do that, all right? Hey man, we're good. Don't worry about that. Bring it back to me tomorrow. Just have them on sign and just bring it back. Put your name on it. Whatever you need to do, I got you. We do. So obviously this is a kid an 11-year-old kid who he has no idea what's going on in his life, all the things that are controlling him. His mother is in a position where she doesn't have an address or a phone number. And by my observation of this young man, part of what's happening is when he gets an assignment that requires any kind of reading or writing, he goes off because that's his fear, is reading and writing. Compton is an area where it's called Hub City because there's a lot of commerce that comes. There's railroad tracks that come straight through Compton. There's a lot of warehouses in Compton. In these areas where it's totally industrial and all these warehouses there are absolute blocks and blocks and blocks and blocks and blocks on both sides of the street of cars and mobile homes and tents and everything. There are high numbers of homes in our class. I kind of want to speak to the question that the gentleman had earlier about mental health and kids, because us as teachers, we're trained in all this different stuff and everything. A lot of what it is trauma. You can call it mental, you can say that this kid is, having mental issues, but these are labels, and these are just kids trying to figure out how to grow up in a world that they have no control over anything. And as an adult, we're talking about adults living, not knowing where they're going to get their next meal. Just think what that's like for an 11-year-old kid who, at 11, 12, 13, 14 years old, you're trying to figure out, it's part of your natural growing up to be trying to figure out the world around you and trying to grow, trying to go from being a kid to learning what an adult is. Again, my job is a very, very difficult job. I love my job, and I love music, and that's part of the reason that I love it, because I can try as best I can to make my classroom somewhere where we can make music, and I can help them find that love of music. But I want to go back to something that the gentleman, and the one that had the statistics up earlier, and there was a question to him, and it had to do with, just taking, people tend to think of just getting rid of the sight of homeless, just kind of put them in a shelter, or, because it's something we don't want to see or whatever. We think of it as these statistics and these abstract things instead of actual people and the actual processes that we're going through, as a child, trying to become an adult, in these ridiculous circumstances. And then we say, well, it's mental illness. Okay, I'm not sure how you can respond to some of the situations that are confronted, that these situations of homelessness create, that wouldn't be considered, trauma and mental illness. That's, I don't understand that. So my thing is partly just to kind of put a lot of this in the perspective of the personal being, especially of children that are coming up in this situation. And then a lot of what happens is if we get them evaluated or whatever, we now put them on medications that they're going to be on for the rest of their life, and create whole new problems. And this is, these are the cycles that we're seeing over and over and over again. I'm going to leave it right there.
First, I'm going to call on myself, which I've been in Carvell's class several times. There's various people, generally in Artists United, do poetry, do music, hang out, ride. And the thing that really a lot of things will strike you if you spend time in this class. I mean, he's exceptionally good at controlling classes. Not just controlling, that's really the wrong word, but because of how he engages people, control is not a big issue. But the main thing that comes through is that he loves the students. How does this relate to, what we're here generally talking about, homelessness? Well, the homeless in America, just like slaves and ex-slaves, are second-class citizens. First of all, by law. By law. And and if you're even connected to them in many cities, more all the time, you can go to jail for feeding a homeless person. Because they're a second-class citizen. The first-class citizen is not allowed by law, let alone all the propaganda, to have anything to do with that second-class citizen. My point being if we're going to show love for the homeless, it takes many forms. Of course, if you just stand at the freeway ramp for an hour, you'll see a lot of people, despite all the propaganda and all a bunch of drug addicts, you'll see people stop and, you know, talk for a minute, share a little money, whatever. That form of love, that's beautiful. But, you know, once a friend of mine said, you know, everybody, when they hook up in a relationship, I love you, I love you, I love you. Well, that's part of it, right? Well, who's going to take out the fucking garbage? You know, who's going to do the work? And my point being, if we have love for our brothers and sisters in the streets, then we're going to try not to get them a shelter for all the reasons that's been spoken here today, to be on the same plane as everybody else. It's not two kind of people out here. One wants less than the other. That's not what's happening. So, and of course, music is one of the best ways to express that and connect that. And, you know, Brooke earlier in her friendly, charming manner, you know, challenged us to get more involved at the level of where all these conflicts are going on, like in OC, and we're going to do that. Any questions or comments for Carvell?
So can I come and sit in your class sometime?
You're always welcome.
Thank you. I'd like to do that.
Can I make a statement?
Oh, I admire this man a great deal. We don't know each other that well, but I admire him because anyone that's in music that has taken their time to do this and to put and make the music heal, help the people heal from the traumatic dealings. Because everyone on the wall, people I've dealt with, people I've seen, people I've slept next to, and on bus stops or whatever, or benches or whatever, they got trauma. A lot of it, some of it's clinically mental, but a lot of it is trauma. Some people just gave up. They just gave up, you know? And the fact is, I'm just going to finish my statement. The fact is, there's got to be hope. And I would like everyone here, I don't care if you're into the music or not, but hip-hop, I don't care if it's country, I don't care. Yo, challenge the people out there in the music business. Challenge them. Say, how come you're not here? Or what are you doing to help? What are you doing to contribute? We look at politicians whose job pretty much is to lie and make promises. But music is supposed to be our feel-good. Everyone in this room at some point hears some kind of music in some way. And you'd be lying if you say you didn't. It doesn't matter what kind of music it is, you like something with rhythm. I challenge everyone to look for these artists, whether it be hip-hop, country, reggae, pop, I don't care. You know, challenge them and say, yo, okay, you're coming up with nice music, but where's your connection to the community? What are you doing to give back? He's teaching. There's a man that knows how to play some good music, but he's teaching. And not only that, he's teaching people that I couldn't do. I couldn't do it. I commend you for that. I barely have patience with 30-year-olds when I teach them how to DJ. So, I mean, the fact that he's doing and giving back like that, we got these people with all these millions of dollars and on Billboard charts, people getting mad because they're not #1 on Billboard charts, but they can't give an hour of their time to a homeless shelter or contribute money or even just to buy blankets. Something. That's all. And I just say everyone needs to do that. And that's what I think that needs. Like you said about challenges. Yeah, I'm making challenges every day, bro. I'm challenging everyone. I'm challenging it because if I have nothing and I give you $1, hey, we'll both be in the same boat. That's cool as long as I can help you. And that's just the way I am. And some people are not like that, Lee, but I challenge that. If you have it, share it. I mean, that's all I can say. If you have it, share. I know that's a broad statement, but still. If you have it, share it. Just tell these artists what's up. That's all I got to say. I'm kind of angry about that today.
Hi, thank you for coming. My question to you as a educator, I grew up in substance. I grew up in this. Now, I remember at a time, I'm a 90s kid, we had the after-school program at the No Child Left Behind musical program where free low-income kids for free could play the violin, all types. I learned how to play the violin, but then, and I was doing great, could play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star by myself. I love F sharp. The program lost funding and it was gone.
That's right.
Now, my question to you in your experience, especially, teaching in Compton, do you think that had an effect or a negative effect or impact on the educational, impact on students, especially students of color?
Absolutely. Well, first of all,
And I mean, people of color,
first of all,
anybody
I went to Washington and Fremont. So,
Fremont.
Yeah, oh, there you go. So that's my hood too. So, second, I want to go back to what the illustration that he gave with his phone and his headphone. Kids now constantly have their headphones on. Constantly. It's a huge deal. The school wants to tell them you can't wear your earbuds and you can't wear your hoodies and stuff like that. Even in my music class, they want to play the instrument while they got what's felt more than, and there's a cut that Kendrick Lamar does where this kid is talking about music and everything, absolutely everything to him. That is where a lot of people are. They live, and it might be Cardi B, it might be whoever.
Yeah.
But and what I find with my students is they know more about music and more types of music and more genres and more styles than I ever did when I was at their age. And they, I learn a lot from them. Part of what's happened because of the way they get their music, which is not on radio at all, is that it's opened up a lot more of whatever it is I like now. YouTube's going to give me 10 more of those things that I like. So I'm finding a lot more. So their genres are all over the place. I have 12-year-olds that are just huge 80s music fans, So absolutely. And yeah, they took a lot of things away at the time when I happened to be getting hired. That was partly because in Compton they figured out that if they hired music teachers, everything else would come free. There's so many foundations that will donate instruments and these type of things, and there's just a lot of different art situations for them to get funding if they have teachers. At Compton High School, Dr. Dre just donated $100 million to do an arts complex. These things are kind of, they're great. They're great. They're not things that are like structurally built in from the school district or from our politicians or anything. They're donations. They're great. We need them. But what you're saying is true. And in fact, there's a lot of arguments to be said that what you're describing is exactly how hip-hop was created in the first place. When they took music out of the schools, people started figuring out how to create their own music with turntables. So absolutely. But just, I think a lot, creativity in general. And this gentleman, he said it earlier, when you connect with someone where they're at and then you can create from that, you have a whole much bigger connection to actually educate in that way. You're not just trying to get them to regurgitate facts. You're connecting where they're at and allowing them to learn by creativity. So absolutely.
Thank you. We have one last question.
So I just wanted to ask you, you have 15 years experience doing this, and like you said, quote unquote good at controlling the classroom. So what like advice would you give other like teachers and educators on like how to support kids that are in the midst of trauma and like they're acting out? It's like they're not because they're bad kids, because they're experiencing homelessness or violence or abuse at home. Like what as an educator can you do to best support those kids and like foster at least a safe environment for them while they're in the classroom?
Yeah, are you a teacher?
No, but I'm just very interested.
I
have
really-
a lot of teacher friends.
Yeah,
And we talk about
I really identify with teachers who have trouble because we all have trouble. We're presented with an impossible situation. A lot of what we're trying to do, what we're, being mandated to do as a teacher, I'm not going to get that student that I discussed earlier. I'm not going to get him to pass my test. He's got so much of many other things. Just irregardless of the things that you normally have in mind when you're an 11, 12-year-old. Wow, that's a crush. You just have all kinds of stuff going on. Already. Now he has 100 gazillion things more on top of that. No, he's not, and I have 40 of them in my class, so, yeah, it's an impossible task, but first and foremost, I never take anything personal. I always have to just do the best I can to understand that situation and help guide it or mediate it as best I can. What I have working for me and what I in general is I'm always trying to get the entire class moving in one direction to make music. Whatever that looks like, because it looks ugly. Sometimes, whatever that looks like, it might look crazy, but that's my ultimate goal. And a lot of times that one kid, wherever the entire class is trying to go, he's trying to go the opposite direction for that reason. But if I stop and try and go over here with him, I've lost everything. So that's why I went to that student after school. I went and found him after school and had time one-on-one. So really, all I can say is the main thing is just trying to